We and others committed to one of the world's biggest conservation goals, protecting 30% of our lands and waters by the end of this decade, 30 by 2030.
I don't know for you, but there's something very fishy about this announcement. And tonight, we're going to try to make fun of it. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. This was a Freudian slip, as they call it. I said made fun of it when I tried to say make sense of it. But this is how interesting this whole thing is. Because I don't know if you heard what he said, but Mark Carney announced today that he wants to protect 30% of our lands and waterways. But what does that mean exactly? We're going to have to listen to the following video because he's going to try to explain it to us.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I'm happy you asked because we got a video. I had to listen to a 16, 18-minute video of him talking very poorly, I may add. And I chopped it down to about 3.5 minutes, all the important part. But let's listen to this. And, you know, as a conspiracy theorist, my mind went somewhere right off the bat. I'm curious to see what you think. The whole point, the whole exercise of this video is to see what you believe.
All right,
so
let's roll.
Let's roll this video. Stop me anytime you want. We'll talk about it, but I'm really curious to see what you think.
Home
with the largest
20%
coastlines in the world.
Fresh water. 25% of the world's wetlands. Almost a quarter of the world's boreal forests. More than 80,000 species, from the iconic polar bears, beavers, Canada geese, to the unique eastern wolf, Vancouver Island marmot, and the Perry caribou. Nature is also an asset that provides a flow of goods and services over time. These ecosystem services make nature our greatest ally in the fight against climate change. They help mitigate and reduce the severity of climate disasters. Wetlands absorb carbon and they absorb excess rainfall. Forests prevent erosion and floods. Healthy ecosystems reduce the impacts of severe weather that can damage our communities.
I just want to highlight that he said that wetlands absorb carbon, trees are good against erosion, which is accurate. But do you know what sucks in even more carbon than just the wetlands? Trees.
Yeah.
But see how he doesn't mention that? The wetlands is good for carbon. Trees are good for erosion. Accurate. Why does he always skip around? He does not want to admit that trees absorb carbon. That is their main goal. Photosynthesis, as it's called. We all learned about that in elementary school. At least when I was young, we talked about that.
Yep.
How it takes carbon and transforms it into oxygen. And what does Canada have? One of the biggest forests in the world. Yet never mentions that. He always stays away from saying that carbon is tree food and we need carbon. We need it.
Yeah, I mean, like, just first, I haven't heard this speech yet, but just first glance is like, I feel like the whole narrative around climate change is really getting tired. Like, it's very interesting how all these liberal sort of projects or all these things that are good for liberal voters are also happen to, you know, they also are great for climate change. Like, it just the discourse is just so black and white. Everything that they don't like is bad for climate change. Everything they do like is good for climate change. And it's just it strikes me as just not the way the world works. You know, like, have you noticed that, like, all the news you ever hear in the media is bad for climate change? Everything is bad, always bad. You never see a story be like, oh, hey, turns out the polar ice caps aren't melting as fast. You know what I mean? There is good news out there in the climate change narrative if you want to find it, but they never ever talk about it. And it certainly makes you wonder, like, you know, it certainly gives support to the argument that you know, regardless of what is actually happening with climate change, what is definitely true is that climate change as a narrative is being used by media, by politicians to push agendas that have nothing to do with actual climate change.
And the funny part is that climate change is brilliant as a term, because if there's one thing that climate does,
Changes.
changing. The
Yes.
question is not, nobody is arguing that climate does not change. What people like me argue is that we are not responsible human beings for the change of climate, because climate changes no matter if we're here or not. Now, are we polluting our airways? Are we polluting our waterways? Are we polluting our lands? Yes, we are. Are we?
Well, and that's, you know what, that's the environmentalist argument against the climate change hysteria. It's so much energy and funding and focus is going into climate change. No one's even talking about what we're doing to our riverways, to our, you know, to our environment, the pollution we're doing. And, you know, I've seen several, like, a rise in what you might call in the environmentalists backlash against climate change. People who are saying exactly that, who are saying, listen, this is a much more pressing problem. The fucking microplastics in our testicles and the fucking rivers that have full with whatever junk that corporations are dumping into them. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's not a black and white issue at all, but the left-wing parties all over the world, they want to make it a black and white issue.
So let's go back to the video, because the video is a bit longer, obviously.
Yep.
But we agree.
While protecting us, nature also provides for us, including the very building blocks of life: food, clean water, materials for shelter. And our ecosystems provide massive economic benefits for Canadians. One example. The sites managed by Parks Canada alone contribute over $4 billion to Canada's GDP, and they employ over 37,000 Canadians.
Did you hear what he just said? His best example as to how our environment can be good for Canadians monetarily is because we employ thousands of fucking federal workers that takes care of our parks. No mention of the fact that we have the third largest oil reserve in the world. That's nature. We didn't do that. Nature did. No mention that we are one of the richest country in minerals, rare minerals, gold, for example, being one of them. No mention that we have one of the biggest forests in the fucking world. No mention of that. No. $4 billion is really what we need to worry about. $4 billion. You know what? That's not real GDP, asshole. This is taxpayers' money that's paying for those 30-ish thousand fucking federal employees. You know what's great about Natural Park? Leave them the fuck alone. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to supervise them. You don't need to monitor them. Just leave them the fuck alone. Problem solved.
Well,
it's
yeah, I mean,
absolutely idiotic.
We're heading down towards an economic crisis over the next probably couple years, and you know, it ain't gonna be it ain't gonna be park attendance that's gonna pull us out of that, right? Whatever. 4 billion that might contribute to the GDP. You know what really contribute? How much does oil contribute to our GDP, right? How much do minerals? I haven't, I'm sure it's in the hundreds of billions, right? So they're focusing on the park attendance, 4 billion. Yeah, that's great. That's a rounding error when it comes to our fucking mineral wealth and our oil and gas and energy wealth. Like, fucking focus on the things that will get the economy going again. It ain't that.
You know how much money we'd probably save? I should have made the calculation how much money we'd save by not having 30, what did he say? Over 30,000 park employees. You know how much money that would save us every year? Like, this is insane. How about we just focus on that instead? How about the point, and I like that you're bringing it up. You're speaking about it this way, because that's exactly the point. Who the fuck
Yeah.
cares about this right now when our economy is down the toilet? What
Yeah.
we have to
You gotta,
worry about is parks.
we gotta think bigger. We gotta think bigger, man. We're just stuck in this small-minded thinking, and gotta leave our resources in the ground because it's the moral thing to do. That's the right thing to do. Meanwhile, you know, the economy's gone to shit, and you're focusing on the whatever the attendance on your national parks is. Yeah, that's great. That's fine. $4 billion, fantastic. That's what that's half of what we sent to Ukraine, right? It's not
Half. We sent
yeah.
over 24. I calculate
Okay,
every
yeah.
time
So
there's
it's
more money
like
going there. It's
it's
over
like
24
15%.
billion dollars.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
a fraction of what we've sent to fucking Ukraine. So, where's the investment on that money? What are we getting for that? How like Russia's not going to invade Canada. That's not a reasonable or plausible argument. So what is the investment? If you're going to crow about the $4 billion you make on the national parks, what about the $24 billion you sent to Ukraine?
Stop
Wild,
speaking
man.
sense, bro. Stop
Yeah.
it.
Quand on ne protège pas la nature,
If we do
on
not
ne fait
protect
pas
nature,
un choix économique
we are not
avantageux.
making a
On fait un
beneficial
choix qui
economic
va
choice.
à notre encontre.
We are making a choice
Now,
that will
the
go
very
against
scale
us.
of Canada's natural heritage makes our choices consequential for the entire world. And Canada has been a world leader in protecting global nature. Some of you, those behind me,
What the fuck
those in
does
front
that
of me, those watching, were at the UN Biodiversity Conference in Montreal in 2022, where Canada helped secure a landmark agreement to halt and reverse global nature loss, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. As part of it, we and others committed to one of the world's biggest conservation goals, protecting 30% of our lands and waters by the end of this decade, 30 by 2030.
You know, it's something that you hear all the time. 2030, Agenda 2030. This whole climate change bullshit is all towards 2030. The Paris Accord that we signed in 2015 under Trudeau, all pushing towards 2030. Now he had the audacity to say 30 by 2030. So 30% of Canada will be protected by 2030. What does that mean? You know, as soon as I heard that, 30% of Canada by 2030, all I can think of is climate lockdowns. What happened in Nova Scotia over the summer? Are you trying to, as soon as he said 30 by 2030, I'm like, okay, what are you saying? Are we going to not have access to those places anymore? Is that what you're trying to say? Because he's protected. What does that, Bill C9 is about protecting against hate. But what does that really mean? Every time the government brings up protection, what does that really mean? We're taking something away from you to make you feel safe. So what does that mean, protecting 30% of Canada? We're not talking 30% of a small portion of Canada. He wants to protect 30% of Canada's land and waterways. What the fuck does that mean?
Well, and I mean, I just like a lot of my you can even critique a lot of this without even really going after the accuracy of what he's saying. It's just, is this effective? Like, is this a needed thing? Is this needed? Like, because what does he mean? Protected from what? There's a great comment that I just saw from Nun8134 says, how much of Canada's land mass is uninhabited? Most of our share of the continent is already effectively a reserve. Yeah. I mean, probably what, like 98% of Canada is uninhabited. Like, it's already effectively a reserve. You don't need to like waste time protecting fucking massive tracts of land in the Nunavut. That's already protected just by geography. No one's going out there.
Because nobody goes there.
Nobody fucking goes there. It's just, it's not. It's just platitudes and useless words, the same bullshit again and again and again. And even if you like, this really has nothing, in my opinion, my critique on this kind of stuff has nothing to do with even what he's saying. You could even believe fully in the climate change narrative and still be against this shit because it's not fucking doing anything. It's not like Canada is like, you know, I don't think anyone's going around and thinking that we have this like massive pollution. Like, it's already pretty protected. We've already got pretty strong environmental laws. If there are specific things like, you know, factories or plants polluting rivers and whatnot, then go after them. Sure. But this is like, how does this, I asked myself, how does this help the average Canadian, right? In all the issues that they're facing right now, how does this help them? How does this improve anyone's life in any way? It won't affect anyone's life in any way. No one will notice this. No one will feel it. No one will see it. So it's just, so then what is the point of it? Is my question. Like, time is a finite resource, right? Governments can only do so many things. And so you can judge them on the things they do because when they're doing those things, they're not doing other things. Right? So like, do we really need fucking Bill C9? Did we really need hate speech laws? Whose major problem in life is that they have their feelings hurt by shit people said on fucking Twitter, right? You know what is a common problem that Canadians have is fucking buying groceries, right? Paying rent, trying to buy a house. Those are problems. How does any of this help any of that?
It doesn't. It clearly doesn't. And you're absolutely right. You know, I always look at it from a conspiracy theory
Yeah,
standpoint
sure.
because that's just the way my brain works. Every time he speaks, I'm like, what is he going to try to take away from me? And now his speech to me sounds, you will no longer have access to 30% of Canada because it needs to be protected. Okay, cool. I guarantee you that when he comes out with the map area of what is protected, there's a reason why it's being protected and there's money to be made. As a comment said in the comment section, how does that profit Brookfield? The video's not finished, but you see that he's going to start talking about how he's going to get private investment to protect natural resources, to protect nature. What money is there to be made? Like, oh, sure, bro.
Billion-dollar corporations are famous for protecting nature. Those are the guys. Those are the guys that you want in there. For fuck's sake.
And do it while losing money, of course, because there's no money to be made in protecting nature.
And no company is going to do this unless there's money.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So I calculated it. So parks employees make between $40,000 and just over $100,000, right? Like that's the pay gap.
Yep. Sure.
At 37,000 employees, you're looking at the lowest at $47,000 a year. You're looking at basically $1.8 billion that it costs Canadian. And if you go to the average, which would be closer to 60, you're looking at about $2.2 billion. So he's bragging about a 4 billion GDP when it cost us more than a half to pay for this, and those are taxpayers. They're paying for it. So there's no $4 billion GDP when it costs you more than $2.2 billion to pay for it. Like it's one thing after another, but we're going to go back to the video, but you're going to see he's going to start talking about investing, private investment, that he's going to be able to get private investors to somehow make money while protecting nature. It makes zero sense whatsoever, but he still says it and people applauded for it. Come on, video. Hold on.
Committed to one of the world's biggest conservation goals, protecting 30% of our lands and waters by the end of this decade. 30 by 2030. This included a commitment to identify critical areas for our biodiversity and ecosystems. And by conserving these habitats, helping to limit the effects of climate change. Today, we're launching a Force of Nature, Canada's strategy to protect nature. This is an ambitious new plan that invests $3.8 billion of new funds.
Basically, the
across
GDP
three
that we're
pillars:
making.
Yeah,
protecting
there goes that
nature,
GDP.
building Canada well, and valuing nature and mobilizing capital. To get there, we're moving forward with a comprehensive approach. We'll create new national parks and marine conservation sites, new national urban parks, everything that Julie got into politics for, and more.
And
New
Go for it.
sorry, yeah. Just as I'm reading this, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, when he's talking about all this land, like, all I'm hearing is fucking all kinds of new reasons for why we can't drill for oil, all kinds of reasons for why we can't dig for resources, right? The things that we need to get our economy turned around. You know, they're going to be like, oh, hey, look, we're protecting it. We're protecting it. Fact is, you can drill for oil cleanly, responsibly. Yeah, it costs a little bit more money, but we're already doing it in Alberta, right? It's not like this is the old days where you're just going around literally digging shit out of the ground and leaving giant holes in the ground. There are certain responsibilities, and that is baked into permits and permitting and all that stuff. We don't need more reasons for why we can't dig shit out of the ground, because that is the only way this economy is ever going to turn around. It's fucking crazy, man.
You know, I agree with you. That's why I'm not saying anything. I'm just laughing because it's so idiotic. It is so idiotic, but yet they're trying to sell it to us.
So-called other effective area-based conservation measures, which are sites where the land and water can be conserved while allowing some other activities.
Whoa.
Did you listen to that?
Yeah,
Some portion of those lands are still gonna allow for other activities. What do you think the other activities is? You and I. That's why I'm saying this whole speech, this whole spiel, this whole speech is basically telling us that Canadians won't have access to a third of their country. Is basically what he's
saying. It's essentially, it's like we're gonna, of course we'll have to allow immigrants to use the lands, but everyone else,
where else are Indians going to shit? Oh shit, did I say that out loud? Sorry.
We have to protect the land so Indians have a place to shit.
Shit. But he basically, do you see up to now that he's basically saying that Canadians are going to lose access to a third of our country? That's basically what he seems to say, because we need to protect it in the name of climate change, and then somehow corporations are going to make money. Somehow they're going to want to invest.
Creating these spaces is ambitious.
Yeah,
it requires significant funding.
I'd like to know more about.
And we know we can't do it
specifically what he means
just public money alone. That's why we'll work with the private sector to catalyze investments and preserve our lands and waters. Nature can be a force for good that mobilizes private capital that protects the environment. I know this from my work as the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, when the private sector incorporates reducing emissions and protecting nature in their value chains, they have greater incentives to invest and are more motivated to reduce practices that result in habitat loss and pollution.
This is just pie in the sky, fucking liberal utopian vision nonsense. This is not real economics. Everything he's talking about will cost companies money. That makes them less likely to invest in Canada, not more likely. It's just this nonsense. Like, one of the fundamental problems with the current state of the left and leftists and so many liberal projects is that it just they're based on some utopian world that doesn't fucking exist. It never factors in actual human nature. It never factors in the actual behavior of corporations. It never factors in incentives that make sense. It's just, oh, people are going to do this. Yeah, corporations are going to come up here because we're restricting them, because we're putting, You know what I mean? They're going to come up here just so that they can protect the environment. There's no way they can make money doing that, but they'll do it just because they're nice guys. No, that's not how the fucking world works, man.
You know, we've spoken about this. Well, I spoken about this before I did deep dives into it. And if you remember, there's over $1 trillion worth of business to be made until 2050 with that net zero bullshit, net zero emission. The actual market is estimated to be worth over $100 trillion worldwide. And all I can hear right now is how are they going to make money? And what's interesting is when you start actually digging into it, you start to realize that they don't really care about the end goal, the end adoption of green energy or green technology. All they care about is to be able to sell it to you because they get massive amount of government grants. And that's the only way that they're profitable. You know, the decarbonation that Mark Carney included in the MOU with Alberta, the Pathway project, I went through the numbers. The only reason that corporations are investing in it is that there's a massive amount of government funding, which means taxpayers' money. So not only are we going to end up paying more because it costs more to produce that gas, but we're paying for it to cost more. Our taxpayers' money is making money for corporations. That's basically what it is. So they don't care about the end product, if it sells or it doesn't sell. They don't care because they're making money by taking government money. And that's basically what Carney is saying today, that he will get private investors to put money in environment preservation. Are you kidding me? There's zero money to be made in preserving nature. There's money to be made by exploiting nature.
Yes. And all you can do is get companies to exploit nature in a way that does not destroy the environment. And that is possible. But this idea that there's money made in preserving nature, no, there isn't. Countries that are poor as fuck, they're very natural, right? They're underdeveloped. They preserved their nature and they're poor as fuck, and that is why. The nature of making money in the modern world means you cannot preserve nature, right? You've got to build that factory there. You've got to dig those minerals. You've got to drill for that oil. You know, you can preserving nature. You know, if that's your goal, that's fine. If that's your goal, but then just say, but we're going to have to accept that we're going to be poor as fuck, because that is the trade-off. If they were honest about it like that, I wouldn't even be, you know, I'd oppose them, but I'd be like, okay, at least you're honest. But this idea that we're going to turn the economy around by preserving nature, no, that's just not how economies or nature works.
Neither do corporations. Corporations do not care about nature. They will do whatever they need to do in order to make money. You know, there's a marketing thing. You know, if you look at applications, for example, that really opened the eyes to a lot of people. But there's a term in marketing that says that if a product is free, you are the product.
You're the product. Yeah.
And this is exactly what we're seeing here. If corporations are somehow going to make money on something that costs money, that means we're the product. Somehow, and the product being our money. So if they're going to be making money by preserving nature that costs money, that never generates money, where are they going to make money? Your pocket, my pockets, every other Canadian's pocket. So once again, we are the product. Our pockets are the product.
Absolutely.
It blows my mind.
So
it absolutely blows my mind that the average Canadian can be okay with this. Like Greenpeace, I was laughing earlier, but I Googled this and Greenpeace already came out to say that They're embracing that plan. And they think it's not enough. It should be more.
Of course, of course, of course. Well, Greenpeace, that bastion of common sense thoughts and you know, economic powerhouse. Ali Miller is a great comment. Says Carney is all about word salad. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, obviously Nico's conspiratorial mind, so he's gonna look at it from a slightly different angle, almost like taking Carney's words sort of more literally, as if he's actually going to do these. I think it's more just that he's not going to do any fucking thing. This is just nonsense words designed to act as a placebo to calm the liberal. Like it's just a list of buzzwords: climate change, fucking nature. You know, it's designed to calm the liberal boomers voting for him, and so that they can feel good about themselves and be like, yes, we're doing good things here. But it's not anything. There's nothing going on. There's no work. Like, the fuck does this mean? Protecting 30% of Canada? Is 30% of Canada in danger? Is it in need of protection? Spend your time fixing the fucking economy, man.
The whole thing is that people underestimate our politicians. I do not.
Sure.
They are not stupid. A lot of them are. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them are stupid individuals, are just taking advantage of the system. But at the end of the day, the stupid people here is us, because we keep on falling for the same crap time and time again. But if you look, if I've said this, I've been saying this for more than a year. Read his book, read Mark Carney's book, look at his history, look at what he's done in the past. He was the special envoy for climate change, for the UN special envoy for climate change. That's what his role was prior to becoming PM, on top of being part of Brookfield. But the point I'm making is that in his book Values, he highlights how government needs to consider climate change in every single economic or monetary decisions. And this is what we're seeing right now. Those are not word salads. He means what he's saying because there's money to be made. There's money to be made for Brookfield. There's money to be made for his friends that are going to invest. There's no reason for him to do what he's doing right now, and it has nothing to do with the liberals. It has nothing to do with trying to appease his crowd. It is really because there's money to be made. How? We're going to have to wait and see which area he's talking about, because I guarantee you that the area that are going to be protected are going to be heavily dense in natural resources. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, probably.
I guarantee you that we won't be allowed to go there because we don't want, we can't see that they're excavating. We can't see that they're taking advantage of those natural resources, but it's not going back to Canadian pockets. It's going to go back to private entities. They're going to line their pocket with that profit, not ours. So once again, we're going to be used for private entities to make money, and those are all going to be Carney's friends. This is exactly what's going to happen. There's no other reason. I think we can all agree. See it as a conspiracy. Don't see it as a conspiracy. I think we can all agree that corporations do not invest money to lose money. They invest money to make money. So they're either going to be in extremely dense natural resources area and they're going to be exploiting them, or they're just going to do whatever it is that they do, and they're going to take our money as taxpayers through grants or through investment funds to make money. However, whatever the two is, which is probably going to be a combination of both, they're going to make money, and we're going to be the ones paying for it. But I guarantee you, man, just the way he speaks, 30% of Canada by 2030 will be off limit to Canadians. He was pretty clear about that.
I mean, I'd like to know what he means by protecting exactly. Is he talking about protecting from, I mean, no matter which way it is bad. He's talking about protecting it from development. That's not good. Protecting it from exploitation of resources. That's also not good. Protecting it from people from entering the woods. That's not good. That's what's going to happen. There's no scenario where any of this is good.
I want to take one more comment before we get to the next topic, because there's another topic I really want to talk about. Prairie saying stop spraying the skies. This is one of the things I find absolutely ironic, yet the left refuses to speak about this. We've been saying this, guys like me have been talking about this for 20 years or reading about it for over 20 years, how they are spraying our skies. Now it's just called, now they actually have called, I think it's called geoengineering that they call it.
Yeah.
I believe that that's how they call the spraying of our skies is geoengineering. You even have countries like the UK that wants to spray more in order to block the sun because that's causing climate change. But the point I'm making is that they want to protect, they want us to pay to protect nature, but they're still spraying our skies. Like, are you serious? Like, seriously? Like, ironically speaking, this is how stupid we've become. The average individual, oh yeah, we need chemtrails. Thank you. Wow, I was drawing a blank here. But yes, chemtrails is how we've been calling them. It's geoengineering now, but it's the same thing. And they've been doing it for decades. But yet we need to protect nature by investing what, $3.8 billion on top of paying for $2.2 billion in salaries, which is only going to increase because they're going to need more park rangers. They're going to need more park employees in order to take care of 30% of Canada that we won't be able to see anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's no point to it. It's useless. It's not a good waste of government resources. There's
Nope.
I mean, I don't know too much about the geoengineering thing, but regardless, like it's not. This is just not what the government needs to be spending their time on.
No. We're going to talk sponsors before we get to the next topic. So this episode of the Political Orphans is brought to you by Miss Cleo's Pet Treats, 100% natural, healthy dog treats, free from preservative, additive, and fillers, made by hand right here in Canada. Not only are they made by hand, but all the meat is sourced locally from farms in Manitoba. So none of that Chinese crap for your dog. So if you know that your dog deserves better, go to cleoscookiesandtreats.ca. Use the discount code Political Orphans to get 20% off your entire purchase. Obviously, you're not going to remember everything I said. So look at the bottom, look in the description below. The link is there and the discount code is there. So 20% off your entire purchase. Before I get to the topic I really wanted to talk about, I'm just going to pass a stupid comment. Or actually, I'm just going to pass a comment as a whole that's just going to piss off people even more, but I have to address it. So tomorrow, April 1st, April Fool's Day, the industrial carbon tax is set to increase. And no, it's not a joke. It's going from $90 a ton to $110 a ton, an increase of about 16%. You might not see it at the pump, but you will eventually see it on everything, because obviously everything that we buy, all the products, all the services are impacted by carbon tax because they need to be transported. It's too early to tell how much it's going to cost the average Canadian, but I doubt we'll see the difference considering that gas prices at the pump, at the Canadian pump, has increased by 30 to 40% over the past month since the Iranian war started. And on top of that, the federal alcohol tax is set to increase by 2% tomorrow. But at least you can feel good about something. Our politicians are getting a $8,800 to almost $18,000 raise a year, depending on their job. So at least you can feel good that our taxpayers, our tax money is not only going to go to nature, but it is also going to our politicians. I was writing that earlier and I'm just like, this is 42.3% is what the average taxpayer pays in taxes. and now
Yeah,
we're
well, I
seeing
mean,
more taxes, and more taxes. 30 to 40% increase at the gas pump. The gas here in Quebec has carbon tax in it. We have a provincial carbon tax.
that's so fucking crazy, man.
It went from about $1.40, and now I saw it today when I came back from the gym, $1.92 or $1.95. This
That's
is how much it is
insane.
right. And I'm outside of Montreal. That's the worst part.
That's crazy. Jason Uncensored says it's over $2 a liter in BC. That's fucking crazy, man. It was like $1.30 here maybe a month and a half ago. Now it's higher, obviously, but it's $1.75 or so. But $1.92 and $2, that's fucking crazy.
Yep, 100%. It is. It went from 140 to 14, from 140 to about 195 is the highest I've seen. So you're looking, but average throughout Canada, you're looking between 30 to 40% in a
Crazy.
month. And now we're going to pay even more for everything else because 7.2 inflation on food is not enough. So we're going to be paying even more because the carbon tax, the industrial carbon tax is going up by 16% tomorrow. And they will continue to go up 15% a year. 16% a year. It's $15. It's going to be less than 16% because it's $15 a year for the foreseeable future. It will go up $15 a year. $15 a year.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading now. They're setting for by 2030 the industrial carbon tax to be 170 per ton, which is crazy.
Did you see the number again? Did you see the number again?
170 per ton by 2030.
Did you no the number as the date? Does that date not sound familiar? Mark Carney was just talking about it. That he wants to increase 30% of Canadian land to be protected by when? 2030.
Yeah, by 2030.
Carbon tax is continuing to go up every year until when? 2030.
Yeah.
There's the agenda. One day we're going to have to do a deep dive on the 2030 agenda. That all started with the Paris Accord about 15 years ago, but 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago. We're going to have to do a deep dive into that. But it's funny how it's always 2030, 2050, 2030, 2050.
Yeah.
2030 is on the way to the net zero 2050. On that note, here's something else I wanted to talk about because this absolutely blew my mind, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. And as you know, I talk about censorship all the time. Any chance I get, I will bring up awareness on censorship. There is a new Angus Reid poll that indicates that 70% of Canadians are in favor of banning social media for children, teenagers under the age of 16. So if you look right here, it's on the screen. This is the result of their poll. 34% plus 41% are strongly in support or in support. The highest amount, however, wherever you look, like, and those are all parents with children. That was one of the things. Have kids 10 to 15 in the house. So they needed to have the kids. 75% are in favor. And let's say 18% to 22% are
opposed,
against it.
Wow.
This absolutely, I did not realize the numbers would be that high. This is what kind of surprised me. I know that there's a lot of parents out there that are lazy parents that want the government to do their job instead of taking care of their own children. But 75% of the people that they asked wanted bans for social media for children, teenagers, kids under the age of 16. And every time I see this, I cannot stop myself from remembering how this will be implemented. And this is the part that they never tell you. They never explain. Let's say that you're okay. Let's say that this is good for the children. Okay. We'll play devil's advocate for a second. In order to implement a ban on people, no matter who they are, but in this case, it's 16 and under, or under 16, my apologies. That means that you're going to have everybody prove their age. That's the only way to do it. If you want to ban a certain group of the population, that means that everybody needs to prove that they are not that age, that they are over that age in order to access social media. That means that every single Canadian will have to prove that they are 16 and above in order to continue accessing social media. Obviously, they're going to need you to prove it by providing IDs, government issued IDs, government accepted IDs to prove that you are over the age of 16 or 16 and above. That will be attached to your name. So you're basically going to have, what's your name? How old are you? Here's the ID. Oh, and here's your username on social media. So they're basically going to create, this is a backdoor to creating a registry of your name on social media. They confirm. Obviously, they can find that out today. They know how to find that right now.
Oh, yeah.
But now we're talking about doing it legally. You know, there's one thing to say, I was able to get that information illegally, but to now say that you're providing that information legally to our government is something it's something that's very different. But, you know, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot, we've been talking about, you know, Bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, C22, and soon a new Bill C63. But when I see those polls and I start to look at what it takes in order to implement such policies, I can't stop from thinking that Bill C9 is about to become law. And Sean Fraser did say that Bill C9 will be applicable to online speech. So you will be able to get charged for hate speech online. Now you have a government that is pushing the idea that we should ban children under the age of 16 from social media, thus creating a backdoor registry of all the username and names out there. Bill C22 would allow the government, would force, my apologies, Bill C22 will force telecommunication companies like the Bell, Rogers, and TELUS to install equipment that will sniff all the customer traffic, meaning your traffic, and save it for up to 1 year so that the government can access it if they need it. That without a warrant. Remember, we talked about this with John Carpe last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and remember Bill C8? Bill C8 has a provision in there. Bill C8 is the Telecommunication Act. And when we first covered it, again, I come from that world. I worked in that world for 20 years. And I told you from the get-go, there's a good reason why the government wants to have access to the data centers where the telecommunication companies, the Bell, the Rogers, the TELUS of this world, are located. I said it from the get-go. They will want to install equipment in order to monitor people. Bill C22 is exactly what they're asking for. So you have a government that started pushing the idea, and that's Carney when he was in Japan a couple of months ago, that started to talk about how we should ban 16 kids and teenagers under the age of 16 from going on social media. Bill C9's passed since then. Bill C22, well, C22 asks for sniffing equipment. Bill C8 gives the power to Mélanie Joly's department to kick anybody off the internet that is considered a threat to Canadian networks, whatever the hell that means. It's not explained in the bill.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy.
So our government is literally going to use parents in order to create digital IDs. And now they're passing the bills that they're going to need in order to cut the internet to people that commit hate speech. And remember
Well,
that in Bill C9, criticizing your politicians, your government could be considered hate speech. It is open to interpretation.
yeah, I mean,
It's
I
all
when I,
connected, and it blows my mind that people don't see this. That people are not
when
seeing
I
this.
see
We got a
when
problem
I
here.
when I see those numbers there, the 75% support, I wonder how many of that 75%, how many of their kids are on social media. I bet you most of them. I bet you a large chunk
All
of
of
that
them.
75%.
All
Yeah,
of them, I would say.
because if if they took their kids off social media, they wouldn't care if the government did it or not, right? Like, it's crazy to me because I understand I think social media is terrible for kids, and I would even probably be in favor of the ban if I trusted the government to actually implement it, but I don't. You know, it should be, government should be doing this. Government should be, or sorry, not governments, parents should be doing this, not governments.
Yep.
And it's hilarious. You've got 75% of parents who support it, but you have the option. Just fucking don't let your kids on there. I guarantee you almost none of them have banned their own kids from social media.
No. And it's super easy to do. There's an application called Net Nanny. It existed when I was a kid. When I was 14, 15 and the internet just came out, my mom installed it on our public computer in the house so that I wouldn't watch porn. Let's be honest. That's what Net Nanny is pretty much. It started as an anti-porn application, but you can block everything. You can install that on laptops. You can install that on phones. Like, how stupid, how lazy, I don't want to call them stupid, how lazy are parents to not care enough to look at what their kids are doing? Like, how spineless are you? You're paying for that cell phone. You can take it away.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
happy. Take it away.
Just don't.
They're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be just fine. Buy them a flip phone. They still sell flip phones on Amazon, man. Buy them a flip phone. You're worried that they don't have a way to contact you? Awesome. Buy a flip phone. They go for $100, $150 last time I checked. And there you have it. They have a phone.
Yeah. It's it's frustrating when parents are trying to outsource their parenting to the government, right? Because that's not what the government should be for. The government's not there to raise your kids. You raise your kids, and I agree. Kids shouldn't be on social media. Like, it's terrible for them. But then just take them off it. It's not hard.
It's so simple. It is so simple, but we are really in a world where governments, there's this analogy, and I absolutely love this analogy. Now we have people that leave their parents' house to go live by themselves, and they look to the government to be their parents. They cannot just be adults.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are literally parents are raising their children to be children because they're children themselves. They're always need to be dependent on somebody else. But, I'm a newer father.
Well,
But listen to this one. And as a guy that has a son, let me know how that hits you. But when I heard this, I cried. Like, I literally cried like a bitch when I heard this. But Patrick Bet-David, right? Do you know the guy? American business guy. He has a podcast. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that guy. And he was talking on his show the other day, and he said something that really struck me right in the heart. He's like, my most valuable, the thing I value the most in my life is my children. And he has like 4 or 5 of them. He's like, the thing I value most in life is my children. Yet as a father, my main job is to teach my children to not need me. I need to teach them so well that they won't need me anymore. I am teaching the thing that matters. I'm teaching the thing that matters the most to me to not need me. And I'm sitting there watching the video and I'm like, damn, bro.
Point. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, and it's because he's not going to be perfect. The problem is the state has taken over many of the roles that the community used to do, right? 100 years ago, there wasn't necessarily a big social safety net, but most people had strong communities. And if someone needed, someone's kid needed a surgery, it would be the neighborhood, the community that would fundraise for that. And the state has taken over so many aspects of it, with like even like child protective services. Yeah, like clearly there's a need for the government to step in or police to step in if someone's like literally abusing their kids. But you're seeing cases all the time, kids being taken because their parents don't want to disagree with them transitioning. Their parents don't want their kids fucking mutilated or sterilized at 15, and child protective services takes their kids from them. So it's just a lot of government overreach everywhere you look. And basically the government has gotten drunk on its own power, right? They've taken over much of the roles of community that we've had in the past. And now the government, the state is your parents, the state is your provider. And that's not good. That's not good for the human species. We're trending in the wrong direction here.
And it's everywhere you look. It doesn't matter that it's parental responsibilities. It doesn't matter that it's surveillance, that it's censorship, that it's everywhere you look. Taxation. Everywhere you look, the government has their hands in our pockets, in our lives. They're controlling, they're surveilling everything that we do. And the part that should worry Canadians is that none of the political parties that we have are proning the opposite. None of the political parties are telling us we need to reduce government power by 90%. No political party out there is saying we need less government, more trust in the individual. Nobody is saying this. Nobody is pushing that idea when it comes to political party. And that should worry you, because if you look at traditional conservatism, that's the main difference between the left and the right, is the way that they implement their policies. If you look at the left, it is normally a top-down approach. You do this or else. So the government with a lot of power forces you into submission. A more conservative approach is to build the individual to have morals, to know that they have responsibilities, and do what we call a bottom-up approach. You trust them, you give them the tools that they need, you enable them to be good human beings, and you expect them to be good human beings, and you have almost no interaction at the top. You take care of the roads, you take care of the army, you take care of the little things that you should do as a government in order to protect the whole. And when I say protect, is like army-wise. Is, okay, maybe you should be responsible at the amount of money that should be in circulation to cause the less amount of inflation as possible. The government doesn't need to be involved in much.
Yeah.
But yet, no party today, and that's throughout the world, it's not just in the West, it's not just here, it's not just in Canada, no party out there is promoting the idea of less government. And that should worry people, because I trust people more than I do the government.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the government doesn't want that, right? They want you dependent on them, and even because when you say no party's doing, even the Conservative Party here in Canada is not doing that. You don't hear anything about small government. You'll hear it from the Republican Party sometimes down in the States, but you don't ever hear the Canadian Conservative Party talk about size of government or anything like that. And that's used to be a pretty fundamental right-wing or conservative idea.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is something that is not anywhere. They're never going to prone that. They all work for the same people. At the end of the day, man, you know where I stand on this. They all work for the same people. That's why their message is so identical. But on that note, man, we are 5 minutes, about 4 or 5 minutes over. We're pretty much done for the day either way.
Yep.
Yeah.
We good show. We didn't have any guests today, and actually it was kind of a slower news day, but we still had an excellent conversation. Lots of comments here. Guys, if you aren't just tuning in and you want to support the show, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee, which you'll see in the QR code of your upper left-hand corner of your screen. And of course, another way to support the show is to just keep coming back, keep throwing those comments in there, and we will get to them. Other than that, folks, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Peace.
7 p.m. Eastern time, by the way.
7 p.m. Eastern time, right?
8
p.m. my
8
time.
p.m.
Yeah, that's right.
8 p.m. your time. But I think we have a lot of new listeners. So, guys, make sure to smash that like button or to spank that like button. Make sure to follow and make sure to come back, because that is the whole point, is to be able to have those conversations, have those comments. So make sure to come back. And as Rob said, we'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, peace.
Peace.